Welcome to Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News, where you'll find the best practices, tools, and technology tips to help you grow your real estate business. Here are your hosts, Bernice Ross and Greg McDaniel.
Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of Brokerage up from RealEstateCoach.com with Real Estate Coach Uncensored today. Greg McDaniel is out. He's got the stomach bug. But I can tell you what, this is probably the most important video to your financial security that you are ever going to see. And the concepts we're going to hear today are going to absolutely blow your mind, make you think differently about your finances. I have just reorganized everything in my company based upon what you're going to hear today, and it's quite mind-blowing. Our guest today is Chris Naugle. He's America's #1 money mentor. He's the author of the book, brand new book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. And Chris also had a show on HGTV called Risky Builders. He has flipped 263 houses using the strategies we're going to be talking today. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Happy to be here. And as always, I love teaching people how money really works.
Well, let me lay out a couple things just from my perspective. So I want you to just imagine right now, you're a real estate agent, you've got a $400 car lease, that's for 5 years. So you're going to pay, over that 5 years, you're going to pay $24,000 for your car. You pay that to a bank. And then if I've got a $300,000 mortgage at 3%, over the first 60 months of that, I'm going to pay $42,608. And assume I've got $10,000 of credit card debt that I'm paying at 18%. That's $150 a month, or $9,000 over 5 years. That turns out to be a total of $75,608. What if I told you you would never have to pay that much money to a bank ever again, using what Chris is going to describe right now? And when I was selling high-end real estate in Southern California, I heard about some of my clients borrowing against their insurance policy or something where they were taking money out of their insurance policy to buy houses. And I've seen some references to it. I thought you had to have like $3 million. This was on the outskirts of my knowledge, and I didn't know about it until I met Chris just a few months ago. So Chris, I'm going to turn this over to you because you're the expert. So explain what the notion is of becoming your own banker, because that's what I'm working on for myself right now. And I want to encourage all of you who care about your finances to take a hard look at what Chris is going to say. So Chris, take it away.
So I think it's interesting. You kind of gave me a great case study there. You were talking about just average things that people do every day. I mean, we buy cars, we lease cars, we take out mortgages, we use credit cards to buy the things we want. And we don't think there's anything wrong with that because that's just what we've been taught to do. But the funniest thing, if you think about everything that you just said, from the car lease that ends up costing you, $24,000 and then you have to give the car back, to the credit cards that you're giving up 18% interest, and you're just thinking, okay, it's only $150 a month. We've been taught our entire lives to give up control of our money. And in doing that, we've also been taught to park our money while we keep, taking on more debt and accumulating more things. There's nothing wrong with that. But every time we do that, that's more money leaving our household forever. The average household family gives up 90% of every single dollar that they make. That money is going
90%?
Yeah, that's the statistic. It's crazy. So essentially, if you think about that, 90% is leaving our household every single year, and out of every dollar we make, and we're keeping 10%. But the savings rate is less than 5%. So how is it that the savings rate's less than 5%, but we should be saving 10? Well, some of that money leaks out somewhere else. And the biggest thing is there's a lot of people out there that tell you how to create budgets, and we do that too, but it's no fun to eat rice and beans, and when you're sick of rice and beans, to eat beans and rice. It's more fun to go get your Starbucks and do the things you do today. So what this system does, becoming your own bank, and it's hundreds of years old privatized banking method, will allow you to do the things you do today, allow you to buy the things that you're buying today, but yet give you a method that over time you can get all the money back for every single thing that you buy. Now, this isn't a get rich quick thing. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It takes time. Just like building a bank, you'd have to dig the hole, build the foundation, you'd have to get the depositors. Your banking system takes time to capitalize. So a lot of people, when they look at this, it's not attractive to them just because it takes a little bit of time to kind of get up and working. But once you understand how this works, you start to see the potential of how you can get every single dollar back for all the cars you're ever going to buy, drive, and own. That's an easy one. People love cars, and we're always going to need cars to get where we're going. But what if you could have the car and get all the money back for not just this car, but every single car you're ever going to buy? Well, if we take that same methodology and we say, okay, well, can I do that with houses? Can I do that with rentals? Can I do that with the office equipment that I'm buying? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. The other thing that this does, and I want to go to your credit cards, is think about that credit card scenario you gave me. Somebody's got $10,000 in credit card debt, and they're paying 18%, which I would argue is probably low. I was just looking at my Visa and my Discover card. They both charge me 24.99%. So 18 would be a pretty low interest rate, but we don't think anything of that because we swipe our card and we just make a monthly payment. Well, what if you were trying to build wealth? All you would really need to do to build wealth is change one thing. And that one thing is where your money goes first. And if we could put our money somewhere different, and for that one change, we could then start building wealth by taking back the money that we're giving away to everybody else. I want to make it simple. Think about that credit card example at 18%. How many of you would love to make 18% on your money? I don't care if it's your 401k, your savings account. Imagine if your bank paid you 18% on your bank savings account. You'd be bouncing off walls in joy, but it doesn't. It pays you probably less than 1% right now. But you could make 18% on your savings if you change that one thing and you took back the money that you're giving away. Because really, that $150 a month, that $9,000, over 5 years that you're giving away to the credit card, you could pay that same $150 a month to your bank instead of to the credit card's bank. And that's some of the things I think we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to show you, because this all sounds good, right? Get all the money back for all the cars you're going to buy, drive, and own. It's so much fun. And I'm so happy to have introduced you to this, to show you how to buy that new vehicle, because although buying a vehicle, it's an exhilarating thing, it's a fun thing, but when you start making those payments, it's not so fun when they go to somebody else. But I'll tell you what, when you actually have a method where you actually make the payments, same payments you'd make to the bank or the finance company, but you make them back to yourself. And then you look at your account, and every payment you make back, that money's in your account and can be used. That's pretty amazing. But what you pick up is the interest rate that you would have given away to the finance company. Now,
if there's a second piece that you just hit on, is as you start paying that back, one of the things we've looked at is, okay, well, I start paying my car back. I'm not going to buy another car right away, but maybe I could pay the expenses from my business. So if I'm clearing $200 or $300 a month on my payments, then I can start putting that towards my expenses. And that grows every month that I pay off the car, right?
Absolutely. A thing that a lot of people know about is compound interest. People think they know what compound interest is. They park their money somewhere. I don't care if it's a bank, a CD, mutual funds, stocks, bonds. We put it there and we just leave it. And then that money grows over time because of compound interest. But the problem with the way we've been taught to use compound interest is it involves us putting our money somewhere and leaving it. Now, that's just not any fun. If you put your money somewhere and you got to leave it there, that's kind of like your money just sitting stagnant. Picture your bank account. When you put money in your bank account and you save up that emergency fund, which so many of us have because we've been taught to do that, your money literally every single year is losing money because of inflation. The average inflation rate, and this varies, so as of 2020 right now, it's 3.2%. That's your average inflation rate. And inflation is a hidden tax. That's all it is. If you're making 1% in your savings and you're losing buying power of 3.2, you're losing money every year. But that's what you've been taught to do. But what if there was a way? What if the wealthy many years ago, hundreds of years ago, figured out a way to earn not just compound interest, but uninterrupted compound interest? Now, imagine and visualize, you put your money in something that's earning you a guaranteed 4%. Let's pretend that you found yourself a really, really good bank that pays you a guaranteed 4%. That right off the bat would be fantastic and you'd be excited. But imagine if that bank allowed you to put your money in there and then take all or some of that money out without ever interrupting that 4% interest. Now, you actually have money sitting in your account. You have the ability to take it out and go buy a car, buy a rental property, pay off credit cards. But while you're doing these different things that we do every day, your money never stopped earning that 4% because it's uninterrupted compound interest. And most people, when I tell them that, they say to me, Chris, that sounds too good to be true. There's no way. I would have heard about this if this existed, I would have heard about this. Well, not only does this exist, this has been around from all the way back to the days of the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and it's been used by just about all the wealthy families right up to today's world, in today's times where, you know, well, I know he's passed, but McCain used it to fund his political campaigns. Some other presidents have used it to fund their campaigns. And people like Walt Disney, Ray Kroc have used this to fund their marketing campaigns and the building of Walt Disney. This has been used all the time. And it's been right under your nose the entire time, but nobody has ever shown you how it works. Nobody's ever been able to make money to show you how it works, and that's probably why. So go back to that compound interest. Now, Bernice, you were talking, I think, before we went on about, a retirement account. Somebody puts money in the retirement account, that money builds up and it compounds, and it's pretty exciting right now. If you look at your accounts right now, most people have made a good amount of money.
Well, I've got an example. In 2006, I had an excess distribution from my retirement system, the teacher's retirement system of $10,000. So I was able to get it into an instrument that paid me 7% guaranteed compound interest. Here it is 14 years later, and this is just recent. As of this month, that $10,000 is worth $30,000. So if I had put it out at 7% simple interest, it would have been worth $19,800. That's still a good return, but I mean, it's instead of double, it's triple, and that's the power of compound interest. So there's got to be a catch to this, Chris, in terms of who's loaning me the money to pay off my car, or how does that work?
So there is a catch, but it's a very simple one to explain. And in a moment, I'm visual. So when I learn something or I explain something, I like to do it by drawing it out, because it's so much easier to actually watch how money flows and learn that versus me just telling you we're going to move it from the left side to the right side and then back to the left. If I say that, everybody's head says it doesn't make sense. Well, I want to go back to that 10,000 that grew to 30,000. That's really good. And 7% is a great interest rate, and especially 7% guaranteed, which you can't really find that anymore. But in order for that money to grow from 10 to 30 over that time frame, you had to leave it there. You had to park it there and leave it, because if you went in and you took that money out, that would have stopped the flow of that interest. That 7% would have been paid on whatever the balance was remaining. In the system that you've learned about from me and that I'm going to teach in a second, although it's not 7%, it's a guaranteed 4%, your money would still earn that 4% over that same time frame, but you had got to use that money throughout all of those years. So my question would be is, if you had 10 grand or 20 or 30 as it is today, but you were able to use that money every single year and you never interrupted that compounding, how much more money would you have made if you took some of that money and you paid off those credit cards that were charging you 18%? Instead of just paying the credit cards off, you took the same 150 you were given to the credit card company and you put it back into your account. You effectively just made 18% plus the 4% that your account was paying you, if what I'm telling you is correct.
That's
but then
22%.
What if after you paid the credit cards off, you went out and you bought a car? And then instead of making a $500 a month car payment to the finance company, you paid that back to your bank. So first, let's get right to it. The one part that everybody is probably asking, what is this magic savings vehicle, this magic bank that you're talking about? Well, this is the part where I usually lose people. This magic bank isn't a bank at all. It is a mutually owned insurance company. And the vehicle that we're talking about, the machine that's going to move that money, is nothing more than a very specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy. Now, before you start judging a whole life because of what you think you know about a whole life, I want to make something very clear. This is not the whole life insurance policy that you go to the insurance store and buy to protect you against that day someday when you graduate, nice way of saying when you die, and then somebody else gets a payout called the death benefit. We're not really building this to pay out a death benefit. Although it will, we're building this to work for banking. So this is a whole life unlike any whole life you've ever seen, because it's going to function, work, and look very much like a savings account. So now that the 800-pound gorilla is out of the room and you now know that this is a specially designed and engineered whole life insurance policy, now you're probably thinking to yourself, that isn't possible. I have a whole life, or I know somebody that has a whole life and they've put money in that thing and they don't hardly have any money to use. Precisely because they bought a life insurance policy. They didn't design a banking policy. Now, how do I know that this is exactly what it is? Well, Google BOLI, B-O-L-I, right? If you went on and you Googled these words right here, BOLI, B-O-L-I, what would come up in Google is hundreds of pages of what's called bank-owned life insurance. And you would learn very quickly that banks use this exact concept. And not only do they use it, banks own more whole life insurance than they do all the buildings and land combined. You take a big bank like Bank of America, they own more whole life than they do all those big skyscrapers, all those branches. That's pretty substantial. So you have to ask yourself, why would banks have so much whole life? Is it because they're stupid, or do you think they know something we don't know? The other thing too, when you think of a bank is an institution. So how can a bank buy that much whole life insurance if there's got to be a body to insure? Well, that's an actual really simple question. Last time you walked into a bank, how many vice presidents did you see at the bank? A lot. Why do you think the banks have so many vice presidents? Well, it's for this reason. In order for them to buy more BOLI, bank-owned life insurance, which are these whole life policies, they have to have an insurable interest in somebody. And that somebody is their executive force, right? They're executives. A vice president is an executive. So when a vice president gets promoted to that position, they get a pay raise. They get a thing called the deferred compensation plan. And most of them get a fully paid up life insurance policy. They're excited. And so is the bank. Because what the bank does is now they've got a body to insure. They go to this big mutually owned insurance company. They say, hey, I want to buy a $3 million policy on this vice president that we just promoted. And we're going to make his family, his spouse or significant other, the beneficiary for $100,000. And the bank is going to be the beneficiary as well for the remaining $2.9 million. But while the bank puts money into this, okay, and the vice president does what he's doing, the bank uses that money. It's called Tier 1 capital. So that's how banks use it. Now let's get into how you could use this, because it doesn't matter how banks use that. That's not helping you get all the money back for all your cars. That's not helping you pay off your credit card. So let me come over here and show this to you. So this is kind of a little chart that I did here. It's going to kind of show the flow of money. Right now, your money is going somewhere. When you get paid, 90% or whatever your amount is leaving your house to pay for things like credit. And I'm just going to write credit cards up here. So we all have credit cards. So we're going to write that right there. Okay, there's your little credit card. And your money's going to your rental. If you own rentals, some of it is going to buy rentals, some of it's buying business equipment, cash flow, marketing. It's going somewhere. Okay, and I could add a lot more things, but some of that money is going into a savings. Now, I don't know, maybe it's a bank. Okay, maybe you're putting it into your bank. Maybe it's going into your 401k. Maybe it's going into mutual funds or some type of investment. All we are talking about here is we're going to change just one thing in that equation. We're not going to make any more money. We're not going to take on any more risk. We're not going to lose control of our money. You're going to change one thing. And that one thing you're going to change is where this money goes. So now instead of the money going into a savings account or a CD, we're going to move that money and put it into your privatized bank. And what is that? Well, that's specially designed and engineered whole life. So let's just, for the sake, just use simple math. And I want to be very clear. The numbers I'm going to put up on the board are just made up numbers just so you can get an idea. But let's assume that over the year, you put $10,000 into your privatized bank. Okay. And that $10,000 was money that you were already putting into your, maybe some of it was going into your 401k above and beyond the match that you get. Maybe some of it was going to your savings account or your checking account for a rainy day fund. I want you to understand that the money you put into this account is no different. If you need the money, you can immediately take the money back out in the first 30 days. So if you put 10 grand in today, within the first 30 days, you can pull some or a good chunk. And how much is that amount? Everybody always asks me, how much can I take out of my deposit? Well, in the first 30 days or less, you already know that one. You know it's less than 30 days, but I always say that. You can take out anywhere from 60 to 90%. Okay? And over time, in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, you can take significantly more than that. I'm just giving you the immediate access. So if we put 10 grand in, now let's just pretend that we have $9,000 in credit card debt. So let's just put $9,000 in credit card debt. And that credit card debt, like you said, is 18%. You're giving the credit card company 18% of that money. Over here in your account that you put $10,000, the second your money went in there, the insurance company guaranteed you 4% interest. Guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to pay you 4% on that full $10,000. But because these insurance companies are mutually owned, every year they're also going to pay you a dividend. And I'll just use the company that you and I were talking about. That dividend in 2020 is 2.2%.
So wait a minute, I'm getting 6.2% now.
Yep. If you're earning 4 plus each year they give you a dividend, you are making 6.2% on your money.
And that's compounding, right?
Absolutely. We're going to get to that. That's the best part. 6.2, maybe you get excited about it, maybe you don't. You just heard what 7% does. It went from 10 to 30 over that time frame. And you can do some simple math. If your money earned 7.2%, it will double every 10 years. If it earns 10%, it will double every 7.2 years. It's called the rule of 72. Just a simple little thing we did as financial advisors. But let's get into it. You got 10 grand in your account. Now, let's just say we want to pay those credit cards off. So we take a loan. Now, you might be saying, well, wait, Chris, why would I take a loan? Why wouldn't I just take a withdrawal of my money? Here's why. If we take a loan, we're not actually taking our $10,000 out. You see, the insurance company, whatever that insurance company did, they agreed to give you a loan from their general account. And the loans, sure, the insurance company charges you interest. How much interest? 5%. Simple interest. I'm glad that you pointed that out because there is a big difference between simple interest and compound interest. Compound interest every year goes up and builds and builds and builds on itself. Simple interest, it's always the same. It's 5% of whatever amount you have out in a loan and it never changes. So if one's going up and one is staying the same, you're doing pretty well. Let's just do the math. If the insurance company charged you 5% to take $9,000, and I'm just going to write 9,000 here, okay? 90%. So if you put 10 in and 30 days later, you took a loan from the insurance company for $9,000, that insurance company would charge you 5% on that loan. But how much money did I say the insurance company was still paying you on the full 10? 6.2. So if we do 6.2 minus 5, you are ahead of the game right out of the hole of 1.2%.
And then if I'm not paying 18% in credit card interest, that becomes—
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to change color because this is going to get super fun. So we're going to go to a red because, that's where we're going to start talking about the money we're giving away. This is the money you're saving now. So if we lose 5% of that, you still make 1.2. Most people don't even make 1.2% on their savings and checking accounts right now. And you can make that for taking your money out. So this thing I have here called a segregated account, I don't want anyone to get confused by it. All that is, it's a different bank account. So you go to your local bank and you open up a brand new bank account. Some of you have read the book Profit First. If you haven't, it's a great book. All we do is we try to keep our money separate from the rest of the money. If your checking account, your regular checking account that you put your income in and you take all your bills out of, it's anything like mine, it's like the black hole. Every penny that goes in it, either myself or my wife finds a way to make sure that there's nothing left at the end of the month. So what we want to do with this money is we want to make sure that this money is segregated. So we're just going to open a new bank account, checking account is all it is, and we're going to move this $9,000 into this segregated bank account. But then once that money's there, let's just say we want to take that and we want to pay off these credit cards. So now the credit card's gone. You paid the $9,000 credit card off. but you were used to giving the credit card company $150 a month, which was 18% interest. What you would do in this scenario is you would treat your money the same way you would treat the bank's money. Because think about it, is your money not as valuable as the bank's money is? You should have already known that. Your money is the bank's money, and your money is actually more valuable than the bank's money. So you should treat your money the same way as you treat the bank's money. And what am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that with that credit card, you never questioned giving them $150 a month. Even though they were charging you 18%, you just knew you had to pay them that. Otherwise, they hurt your credit. They would take something away if that was the case. The $150 you were given to the credit card, what we're going to do is we're going to take that $150 and we're going to pay it back to ourselves. So all you're going to do is you're going to move the same $150 you were giving away, and you're now going to pay it to yourself, which is going to go into this account. And as you're paying that $150 back to yourself, remember the $10,000 never stopped earning interest. The insurance company is charging you 5% on the $9,000, but every month we're going to start paying that $9,000 loan down. So if you got $9,000 every month, we're paying it down by $150. And you didn't change anything. You're doing the same thing you were doing before, except for now you're paying yourself back. Now let's hit the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now, because everybody right now is probably thinking, but wait a second, Chris, I got a loan. I don't want more debt. I don't want to take and create more debt to pay off debt. You see this loan right here that the insurance company gave you? Hey, that loan never needs to be paid back. But we're going to pay it back because we're going to recapture the money you're giving away. But the insurance company doesn't care if you ever pay a penny of that loan back. One thing, when you took that loan, the insurance company made two promises to you when you started this specially designed and engineered whole life. Number one, we already talked about. Number one thing that they promised you is they promised to pay you 4% interest, right? That's the first promise. But the second thing they do is they promise to pay a death benefit to your family or your beneficiary of choice someday when you graduate. And I don't mean graduate from high school. I mean big graduation. I don't like saying die.
Expire.
It's a bad word. So they're going to pay a death benefit. Now, let's just say you put $10,000 into this whole life and it got you a $500,000 death benefit. I'm just making this up. If you had a $500,000 death benefit and you took $9,000 out as a loan, all the insurance company does is they take you down and they reduce that $500 by $9,000. So they're just going to pay out less money upon your graduation date. That's all. The loan is in advance of your death benefit. Therefore, the loan never needs to be paid back. But
that is the missing piece, because everybody's thinking, well, wait a minute, I've got to still make the payment on the car, but the payment I'm making is just tied to reducing my, if I didn't pay it off, it just reduces my death benefit essentially. So I never have to pay that off. And this is the reason that all these ultra wealthy clients I dealt with were pulling stuff out of these banking policies to pay for their multi-million-dollar homes. I never understood how this could work before, and you've just explained it.
And in explaining it, how much did we make in this transaction? Well, really, you made 18% because this $150 that you used to give to the credit card, all that was is 18% interest. Now that you're paying that same $150 back to your account every day or every month that you put $150 in, you have $150 more that you can use the next day. How cool would that be? Is if every time you paid $150 to your credit card, you basically had $150 more in your bank account. You do in this case. And you just picked up and made 18% here, and just use the simple math that I did before, right? The 6.2 minus the 5. Let's just say it's the first year. You just picked up an extra 1.2. So 18 plus the 1.2% spread you made, you're doing pretty good. And all you did
19.2%.
Yeah, and all you did there is change where the money went first, and you carried on doing the same things you're doing today with your money.
Let's explain how this whole life policy works, because, we've got a lot of people who are listening to this who are, the median age of realtors is in the 50s, somewhere in their 50s. you can actually jumpstart this process like we did by putting in taking something out of the stock market, an IRA, wherever, this is something we can't get into what you should do. You have to talk to your tax advisor.
What you're basically saying is most people listening to this, they probably have money somewhere. Let's just pick on the stock market right now. It's something I'm very good at. It's something I've traded for 16 years professionally, actually over 20, but 16 as a financial advisor. Let's say somebody's got 100 grand in stocks. And again, simple math. And they're scared that this is going to happen. Actually, it just did in March, but now we're kind of back up here. Where do you think it's going to go? Well, I'll tell you where it's going to go right there.
It's going to do that sooner or later. It's just a matter of time.
Let's just say you're scared of that and you want to move that money right now out of stocks, protect your gains, do what Warren Buffett says, which is buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. The only way to not lose money is get out of them. And let's say you take that 100 grand and you put up into this silly, specially designed and engineered whole life. Now what we did is we dumped in $100,000. And we're going to call this a dump in. Okay. But then you say, okay, well, I still want to make deposits every year. Okay. How much would you like to deposit would be my next question. I'm just going to keep math simple. Someone says, well, I want to put $1,000 a month in. Great. So we're going to build the plan. And every one of these specially designed and engineered whole life policies, and from here on out, I'm going to call them banking policies, okay, because that's what they are. We're going to design it around whatever your needs are. You put 100 grand in and you put 1,000 a month in. Now, we know that you're going to have access to 60 to 90% of that money immediately. And we also know that that money is now earning a guaranteed 4% plus the dividend. Not so bad. But what if you got the money from your stocks that you got out at the highest point the markets are at, you put them in this privatized banking policy, and now all of a sudden you want to take that money, that 100 grand, you want to buy some real estate. So now all you do is you do the same thing we said before. You take the money out, you put it into this segregated bank account. So now you got 90 grand right there. You take that 90 grand and let's buy some real estate. Now, in doing real estate, there's a lot of different ways, and I don't want to get complicated with this. You could take the money right from your segregated account and buy real estate, but you know what? Let's do this the smart way. This is what my CPA taught me and told me to do, and I would suggest you should talk to your CPA about this. But what if we took that 90 grand and we loaned it to our business? Okay? We take the money from our personal banking account and we loan the money to our business. And when we loan the money to our business, we create just a promissory note. This is kind of silly, like it's your money and it's your business, but in the middle, all you do is you just do IOU. So, my LLC owes Chris Naugle $90,000. And what you do is you do a note, and let's just say you charged your company 6%. Now, why would you charge your company 6%? Remember earlier I said you want to treat your money the same way you treat the bank's money? You couldn't use the bank's money without paying interest on it, so treat your money that way, and you want to make something. So you charge your company 6%, but...
Or could I charge my company 10% and make 5% instead of 1%?
Sure. I mean, let's go up to 10. Let's up the ante.
I like the 10% number. That one's really appealing to me. I'm going to have to pay more back, but I'm making money on my money now, and rather than the bank getting it, I'm paying it to myself.
I love that you just said that because, and I know that we've already talked about this, but I want your audience to understand this. You just said 10%. And you were thinking of that as a good thing. Most people would say, well, why would I charge myself more versus charging myself less? We'll get to that because if you charge yourself more, it's your money. It's all your money. It's coming from the left hand, it's moving to the right hand, and in the middle, you're charging.
It's coming off the top of my S Corp or my LLC's top of the line as a business expense, which is deductible before I pay my taxes.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That is, and if you don't know, interest expense is a tax deduction.
And even it's not a personal loan, which I couldn't deduct because that's got limits. It's coming on my company. It is a business expense and it is a business loan. And that's what really excited me about this, because I'm looking at paying my company expenses out of this and I'm going, this is good.
All right. So I love it. You're getting excited. You're over there like, all right.
Yeah. I'm excited about this because when I realized what the tax ramifications were, and again, this is going to be different for everybody. You have to talk to your CPA. We can't give you tax advice, but we can tell you about these instruments that you can use. And when I finally got my head around this, and you'll probably have to listen to this once or twice to get it, it's just like, wait a minute, I can pay off the car. And then as I pay off the car, I can start paying my business expenses from this. And I just keep paying myself back. So I keep, pay off my business expenses for this month, and we get ready to buy another car. I mean, it's, as you said, infinite.
And here's where this is going to get real fun. So we've kind of got you up to the point where you're understanding the concept in some different ways. Now this is where we really show you how this can really start building wealth very quickly. So I don't care if it's 6 or 10%, you set your terms. You are the bank. And when you own the bank, you can pick the terms. You can be flexible with your terms. If when you took that loan from your bank and you lent it to your company at 10%, your company had a tough month and couldn't make that monthly payment, grab the mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and pretend the person you're looking at in the mirror is your bank. And you say, Mr. Banker, I'm having a tough month. Can we reduce that monthly payment down maybe half for the next couple months and then resume? And then your bank looks back at you in the mirror and says, sure, you're the bank. You control
the actual bank would say no.
A real bank would be like,
my own bank would say yes.
Would you please put the coffee back? You don't deserve that. But you can have the dum-dum suckers, right? They'll give you free dum-dum suckers all day long. All right, so we move the money from our bank over here that came from stocks into our business. And we did it through a note, which is a loan. Now we buy this rental property. Now let's just assume this rental property kicks off, I don't know, let's say it's kicking off $1,000 a month in net rental income. So now you got $1,000 in income coming in. But we already set our terms up here that we were going to charge ourselves 10%. All right, so that $90,000 loan you made to your company at 10%, that's going to mean that now $900, or I'm sorry, not 900, scratch that, $750 a month of that $1,000 in income is going to go back into your account. And I would run it right through this segregated bank account. So the $750 is a repayment back to your bank, which means now your bank has an extra $750 plus that $750 represented 10% interest, plus you never stopped earning interest on the full amount. The only thing you lost in the middle is 5% simple interest that the insurance company charged you. And as this account keeps going up and up through uninterrupted compound interest, that 100 becomes 106,000 next year, and then after that it compounds on that, and this never changes. But the $750 a month you keep paying yourself back, now that keeps increasing this amount. So now all of a sudden you've got your private bank has all this money back in it because you're depositing $1,000 a month. You're putting $750 back every single month because you're just paying yourself back the interest and the principal on that loan. What we do is we take another loan for $30,000 from our bank, and we go and we basically buy the car. And all we do now is we figure out, we go to the dealership. Here's how I did it. And you did the same thing. You go to the dealership, you say, okay, you play that game with financing. You come back and they say, okay, $30,000 car is going to cost you, let's just say $500 a month, right? So we're going to say that this car is going to cost you $500 per month, and they're going to charge you 5% interest. Great. Then what you just did is by having the car dealership figure out what your monthly payment would be, the car dealership just figured out how much you should pay yourself back at. So if the car is going to be $500 a month, well, let's take that $500 a month, put it back into our account now. So we got $750 a month going into the account. That's for the rental. Now we got $500 going in for the car, plus you're making $1,000 a month deposit. Nothing in your life changed, folks. You were already saving $1,000. Okay, you already had the money in your stock account. This isn't newly created money, so you didn't work any harder for this. You didn't work any longer. You took on zero risk doing this. You literally, you're taking back risk. And you basically got full control of your money because every single penny of this $750 that you used to just give away to the bank, every penny of this $500 that you gave away to the car finance company, and every penny of this $1,000 a month that you were saving is now in your account, in your control, earning an uninterrupted compound interest at 4% plus the dividend.
So Chris, to some, we've been talking about this. Give us the 4 or 5 takeaways that you want our listeners to understand.
So the biggest takeaways is you need to get back control of the money that you're giving away. Number 2, you need to learn how to earn uninterrupted compound interest. Number 3, you need to mimic exactly what the banks do with your money, and you need to become the bank. And in doing that, it's just like this diagram. If this is what a bank does, you're just going to mimic that. You're going to change this bank to you, because you are going to be the bank, and you are going to earn a guaranteed 4%. And then everything that you buy, finance, or use your money for today, all you're going to do is your bank is going to be the thing lending it out. And you're going to make money the entire time on every one of those transactions.
Well, I think anybody who's watched this can see why Chris is America's #1 money mentor. This has been mind-boggling for me, Chris, and I want to thank you. Where do they need to go to get the free books again? Is that chrisnaugle.com?
It is. So just go to chrisnaugle.com, and 2 swipes up, and you can grab a copy of my book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. And also, if you give us your email on the website, we'll send you the Quick Start Guide, which is 21 pages summarizing exactly what we just went over.
Well, Chris, thank you for sharing this with us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us for Real Estate Coach Uncensored on Inman News. Be sure to tune in for our next show, when we'll be back to share even more ways you can grow your real estate business. For the latest news and analysis, check out the other great stories today on Inman News.